Hey everybody, Happy New Year. It's Chinese New Year in Hong Kong right now, but I still gotta work. So today, we're taking a look at the Huawei P50 Pocket. I've been using this for well over a week now, like a week and a half, so this can be called a full review. So by now, you should probably already know the Huawei P50 Pocket. It's a clamshell style foldable phone from Huawei, just like the Galaxy Z Flip. But Huawei does a couple of things better than the Galaxy Z Flip. The first thing you notice is that the phone actually folds completely flat. There isn't that gap in the hinge that you get from the Galaxy Z Flip 3. The second thing is the screen, 6.9-inch OLED panel. You don't really see a crease. And more importantly, you can feel the crease too. When you run your finger up and down the screen, you only feel a slight indentation in the folding point. Not like on the Z Flip 3, which has a very harsh gap. It's almost like a dip. Now, because the hinge can fold completely flat, that makes the P50 Pocket a little bit thinner than the Z Flip 3. This thing measures 15.2 millimeters in thickness right now when folded and 7.2 millimeters when unfolded. Despite the phone being so thin, there's a 4,000 milliamp hour battery inside, which can power this phone for almost all day if you're a really heavy user like me. If you're a more lighter casual user, it will power the phone all day. This is a 21:9 aspect ratio screen, so the phone in the hand when it's unfolded feels very much like a typical slab phone, just a lot thinner. This is a 120 Hz panel, by the way, and you have stereo speakers, so pretty good for video watching. Now around the back, I have the white color variant of the phone, and you'll see this little diamond edge pattern. That's because Huawei is going for fashion and luxury with this phone. There's also a gold model designed by this Dutch designer, and it's very opulent looking. So for me personally, I like the white color better. But the gold one is the premium edition that Huawei did a couple of fashion photo shoots with, and it did look pretty good in the hands of good looking models. But let's go back to this hinge. So this hinge actually can stay open halfway, and yes, that means you can do things like take selfie videos or photos hands-free by just putting this on a table. But you'll probably want to take selfies with the main camera system because there's actually a 1-inch OLED display out here that allows you to use it as a viewfinder. Now this is a little bit small compared to the screen on the Z Flip 3, but it's still pretty functional, and you can cycle through the switch to videos, all that. And then you also have other widgets like weather, calendar. You can read notifications too as it comes through, but you can't really interact with the notifications. Now, speaking of this camera system, Huawei calls this a super spectrum camera system. It's headlined by a 40 megapixel main camera, f1.8 aperture, and then a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, and a 32 megapixel super spectrum sensor. So a super spectrum sensor detects colors, and it helps the XD optics engine in here to produce shots with lively, punchy colors that are still accurate and true to life. So the XD optics engine, Huawei first introduced it in the P40 series, and then the P50 Pro got the Gen 2 version that was upgraded. And if you saw my P50 Pro review, you remember that that phone really had a brilliant camera. Photos came out looking amazing. I'm happy to report that the main camera here keeps up very closely with the P50 Pro. In fact, let's take a couple photos for now of a bunch of colors right here. Okay, so we have a lot of colors here, so let's put this camera to the test. So we have the main camera, ultra wide camera, and you can go 2x zoom, but it's all digital zoom because there's no zoom lens, and 10x zoom. If you look at the photo, you'll see that you have excellent sharpness and pretty good color accuracy, you see, compared to the actual building. So I actually took the P50 Pocket on a camping trip over the weekend. I took a lot of photos and videos. So as you can see, for the most part, the P50 Pocket's main camera does a really good job, particularly at night. Now, unfortunately, the ultra-wide camera is below par, particularly for a device at this price point. During the day it's fine, but at night, the ultra-wide camera really suffers, and even night mode only helps matters a little bit. So overall, I would say the P50 Pocket's main camera, it's really good. It's flagship territory, but the ultra-wide camera is a little bit weak, and there is no zoom lens at all. But you know, small foldable phones having a compromised system is not new. The Z Flip 3 also has a weaker camera than the Galaxy S21 Ultra. I think if I have to pick a camera system, the P50 Pocket's camera system is a little bit better than the Z Flip 3's. But of course, there's a major elephant in the room that everybody should already know by now, is that this phone can't run Google. So that means it automatically makes the phone very hard to use for a lot of people. But I just want to say, for me, it's actually usable. It's not ideal that I can't have Google apps natively, but it doesn't make the phone unusable. That's because there are a lot of alternatives on here. For example, you can still run Gmail in Microsoft Outlook. Microsoft Outlook will sync you to your Google account and run Gmail and Google Calendar fine. You can still watch YouTube on the web browser. In fact, if you jump into Huawei's web browser, YouTube's actually listed on the bookmarks automatically. And Google Maps actually works on here, so you can get from point A to point B. So for the most part, I've been able to put my SIM card in this phone and use it fine. For other apps like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can just download it from a third-party source, or Huawei has a search engine called Pedal Search that will help you find the app that you need. So unless you really need access to like Google Drive and Google Docs on a daily basis, you probably can get by using this phone, but it is more annoying. It's not going to be as seamless as using a Galaxy Z Flip 3. Now, the reason this phone can't run Google is due to US sanctions. Now, unfortunately, those same US sanctions have prevented Huawei from building its own 5G chip and also from sourcing 5G chips. So that means the P50 Pocket runs on a Snapdragon 888, but it is just the 4G version of Snapdragon 888. So there is no 5G connectivity on this phone. Now, it's not really a big deal to me. I think 5G is still in its infancy, so right now you're not really getting much benefit of it. But that means this phone is not future-proofed as other 5G phones, because maybe in a year or two, 5G networks will be more widespread and widely used. Now, finally, the biggest hurdle of this phone is the price. This phone retails for 1,200 euros, which comes out to 1,400 US dollars. And this is for the white version. The gold edition, the premium edition, retails for around 1,700 US dollars. Now, this is really high considering the Galaxy Z Flip 3 starts at 999 US dollars. But I think what Huawei is going for right now is the luxury market, the niche market, because Huawei understands that because this phone doesn't have Google mobile services, it's not going to be a phone for mainstream average users anyway. The only people who are buying this phone are fans of Huawei or people who want a niche alternative device to Samsung and Apple. So for those people, they may be willing to pay more. There's no denying that this phone is relatively pricey compared to the Galaxy Z Flip 3, but to some people it may be worth it because this is almost like it's marketed like a luxury item. And in Hong Kong, this phone has already sold out at my friend Trinity Electronics store, so there is demand for this phone. But ultimately, I'm just happy to see Huawei still coming out with new phones and still selling products at a premium flagship range. They have not given up despite US sanctions. Now, it's going to be an uphill battle for Huawei to sell this in Europe at 1,200 euro when the Galaxy Z Flip 3 is there for less money, 5G connectivity, and Google Apps support. But Huawei is just going to try anyway. So that's about it for this review of the Huawei P50 Pocket. I like this thing a lot, but ultimately I just prefer my foldables to be bigger. I still like the Huawei Mate X2 better, or the Galaxy Z Fold 3, or the Oppo Find N. But this is really good for people who like something compact, portable, and I guess a little bit fashionable. So that's about it for this video. Happy New Year to you if you celebrate Chinese New Year, and take care.